Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When it comes to home and auto insurance, it's important to have the right coverage from a company and an agent you can trust. Someone who will help you properly protect the people and things you love most. So if the unexpected happens, you and your family can rest insured. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going good. We are going to do something and act like we know what's happened, right?
Yeah, oh no, we are predicting the future. This comes out on Monday. Just full disclosure, it is Friday, pre-Super Bowl, and we are going to tell you who wins the Super Bowl.
We're going to do it. All right. So the Super Bowl, there's going to be a botched call.
Ooh, this is getting detailed. I love this. Okay.
All right. And the Chiefs will get the call like usual.
You're kidding.
And win the Super Bowl again.
Okay.
24-17. And the botched call will be someone touched Pat Mahomes at all, and he got a flag.
That was the best prediction. This sucks. I should have gone first. Okay, I am going to caveat and say, I'm first going to tell you, I want, all of the will in me want Saquon Barkley to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I want that. I want the Eagles to win. I want it for all the fun press conferences we get with their head coach. I love it. But my true prediction is the Chiefs are going to get a three-peat. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to stay up too late. I'm going to be bloated with too much game food, and I'm going to sadly go to bed that night. And I do think it'll be a close game, but I have, whatever happens, more of like a 3-point difference, like a 21-24 vibe. And I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as everybody thinks.
Yeah,
I think Chiefs defense is better than everybody keeps acting like. I don't know if Saquon can do it all day, but yeah, okay. So it is Monday when this comes out, and all of our listeners now know the Chiefs three-peated last night.
Yes, that's totally what's going to, if we're right. I'm
what if one of our scores is dead on?
Yeah, and literally like everyone's outraged over our call. I'm going to be like, oh, there you go.
I love this.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so all right, speaking to being bloated.
Okay.
Which is really a yearly tradition for me at the Super Bowl.
Right.
What do you mean? What is your thing? What do you have to have while watching the Super Bowl?
I am big on sliders only because they keep me slightly better because we always have wings. Like we got to have wings and buffalo chicken dip. And we eat on those too much before said sliders come out of the oven. And so we are already too full and then we eat them anyway. And there, hence the bloat. Yeah,
so we do the wings. We go to a place up the street and just get 100. My son can eat his weight in wings.
Oh, you do?
15.
You have, high school boy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, he's like, does it have wings? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, why are we even going?
Are you bone in or boneless?
He's bone in. He has like strategy. He can debone a wing like a pro. It's amazing. I'm like, I don't know how he did that. And he'll like squeeze it and push it and does all this stuff and then boom, it's gone. And he's a flats guy, which I think is just totally weird.
It's such a trendy thing right now.
Yeah, he's a flats guy. I'm not a flats guy, and the other thing that is a must is the queso cheese with sausage in it.
Oh, sausage cheese dip.
With salsa. And good scoopable chips. That's a must.
Yes.
I eat way too much of that and feel awful.
And see, it shows up first to the part. Like those people show up and we're like, oh, still getting stuff together. Just hang out.
You just get a little bit.
You just dip when you're walking by and then
it's a mess later.
It's bad. Yeah.
And then you just kind of watch the game. You always complain that the commercials weren't as good as last year.
I haven't seen any leaked. Have you?
No, nothing like that.
Which means they're going to be terrible then.
Yeah. Well, let's say the commercial, and we'll keep going. Oh. The commercials were really bad.
They were so
bad this year.
Oh my gosh. Like one more car commercial?
Yeah.
Avocados from Mexico? Give me a break.
No, but I love the Super Bowl. It's a very American thing. I've always thought it should be Super Bowl Saturday.
Or federal holiday on Monday.
Why not?
Either one.
Come on. We work at Farm Bureau. Come on, Farm Bureau. Give us Monday off.
Isn't this like an executive order kind of administration? What if that was what came out on Monday? What if I'm predicting that the executive order on Monday is Monday after the Super Bowl is a federal holiday now?
It's a federal holiday now. I'd be for that. I'm pretty open to that. But I do like Super Bowl Saturday. You know, we play all these like national championships on Mondays. I'm like, what are we doing? What is this?
Why?
Why are we doing this?
And then they start the game at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm like, this isn't gonna work. I'm a 10 o'clock bedtime gal.
Yeah, I don't want any
This
part of
puts
that.
me to midnight.
Yeah. I know California exists. Let's play the game earlier, please.
If I wanted to do it on their time, I'd live in California.
Right.
I don't. In case anyone thought.
Yeah, so I love Super Bowl, and I'll be up, and I'll probably be mad. Now, I will say the last 3 years I've watched Super Bowl in a hotel in Orlando because of cheerleading. That I think now our audience knows that my daughter did cheerleading. Their national championship, high school national championship, is literally always the weekend of the Super Bowl. So I am
Foolish.
At one point I was actually waiting to see if she won the national championship and watching the Super Bowl at the same time. It's pretty wild.
So you are gonna like be living your best life this year.
Yeah, I don't have to do that this year because she's now in college.
I mean, we're proud of her. She did great.
She's wonderful,
Awesome.
and she's cheering in college. It's amazing. But I'm going to watch Super Bowl at home, and I'm going to have that cheese. I'm going to have that cheese.
This is why we had to record on Friday, because we wouldn't be functioning well on Monday.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
We'd have to turn away from the microphone so many times. I mean, it's not good. So, so just know while you're listening to this podcast, we're just hydrating up. We're working, but we're just hydrating back up. We're just feeling better. Maybe eating some vegetables.
I'm sure you are too, listener. You're
Yeah, it'll be
doing the
great.
same thing.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this hilarious opening. We did not ask our guest today his Super Bowl pick, but we talk about things that are obviously way more important than this silly opening. No, John David's fantastic. It's another one of my friends from home that I get to once in a blue moon yank up here for this.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, you've met him a few times through different routes, so I think he's a good one.
Oh, it's a good one, and he's a great example of kind of the reason we had him come in today was to talk to a county president. County presidents are in every county. They're very important. They're extremely important. And really this week in the Farm Bureau world, if you're not a part of Farm Bureau, you know that it's Presidents and Vice Presidents Conference Week. So it's kind of reason we had a county president on. It's been a big celebration all over the country about celebrating county presidents in the Farm Bureau system. So we wanted to have a great one come in, and I think folks are going to really like this.
Yeah, so hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. Hope you're enjoying your drive to either Presidents, Vice Presidents, or the National Farm Machinery Show, which I figure most of you are doing. And you guys will enjoy this episode. Without further ado, I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
And this is Between the Rows. All right. Well, thanks for being here, John David. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
How was the drive?
Pretty good, really.
Pretty
Got
good?
a little nervous getting off on, 264, 164, whatever, Watterson.
Yeah.
Other than that, wasn't too bad. Pretty
That
smooth.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
That sounds pretty fair here in Louisville.
Yeah, it rained, so everyone in the entire metropolitan area forgot how to drive this week. So I leave to go home an hour and a half. It should take me an hour. I just leave extra 30 minutes just for all people to not know where their brakes are, forget how things work, you know.
Yeah, I don't understand.
You grew up here. You're just used to it.
It's just how it is here in Louisville. Like, if it snows,
Well,
it's like a whole nother level of that. It's,
Sure.
Well, that's across the
yeah,
state.
it's everywhere.
everyone doesn't know how to drive. But, like, just rain. I'm like, it's just raining, y'all. It's really going to be okay. But we're happy you're here. Appreciate you coming by. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Have you been to the state office? We talked about
It's been a couple years ago. I was up here with the Kentucky Ag Leadership Group, and that's been 3 years ago, I guess now. So, but other than that, I have not been here. So,
Yeah, this office, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
It just, like, we only let it for, like, 2 years, and then we do something else. So it's pretty cool.
All right.
Pretty cool building. So.
Yeah, you would like it because most of the changes as of late have been in this area, in the communications area.
I
So
will say,
Hilton loves telling people that, like, would you like a tour?
you're in one piece of the coolest part of the building, and I happen to maybe get to work there. So, we're pretty blessed.
yeah,
over
it's
here.
neat space.
Oh yeah, we got good spots. So.
Well, kick it off for us. We obviously know you, but talk to us and tell the listeners kind of where you're from and how you grew up, what you got going on.
Yeah, so fifth generation farmer there on the Christian Trigg County line, and really our farm's in Christian County, but because my grandmother, granddad, and parents worked in Trigg County, that's where I went to school, and so really kind of claim Trigg County is home. And but graduated from Trigg County High School, went to Murray State, graduated from there, started working at Farm Credit, and was able to come back to the family farm and kind of expand that a little bit. And in the process there, was asked to serve on our Farm Bureau board there at Trigg County. And I believe that was around 14 or 15 or so. And so everything's pretty well been status quo since then. Without had some addition of a few kids and that type thing, but everything's pretty well the same since I'd say 15 anyway.
Talk about your role at Farm Credit. What do you do for them?
So I'm a loan officer. I guess my title is really vice president ag lending, but really just loan officer, and I handle a lot of our commercial ag accounts in our region. So some of the larger farmers, and just kind of have took on that role in the last 2 years, I guess. And so get to work with some of the best people, farmers, big or small. They've all got the same mindset and end goal, really, in my opinion. And like I said, they are, they're a partner with us and not just a customer. And so that makes day-to-day things really nice. Makes you want to come to work.
Yeah, I would say, there's a lot of entities in this state that are working for farmers, and they're not just in this state, but that they're certainly for that, right?
Yeah.
They're there to help those partners, like you said, right?
Absolutely.
Well, talk to us. I'll just go ahead and say it because I do this every time I've got a friend on here. We grew up together. I guess you and my older sister are the same age. And so your sister was in my wedding. So we have seen each other through all phases of life. So it's been a cool run. But being in Trigg County, talk to us about kind of the farming operation, what you guys do there. So I think, a quick Facebook look, it just looks just some cattle.
Yeah.
But talk about kind of how it's grown from when you were a kid and what your granddad did into what you're doing now.
Yeah. So back, which when I was born, I was fortunate enough, my great-grandfather was still alive. And so I remember him being on the farm. He passed away when I was probably 10 or 11. So I've got good memories of him. And, that operation, a lot like many, did a little bit of everything, right? Sheep, cattle, hogs, tobacco, a little bit of row crop, right? And so that's kind of morphed into we rent out our row crop ground now and primarily focus on beef cattle. And historically, we marketed our heifers and steers through CPH sale. And actually, Renee's dad had been on my dad about, hey, you guys need to keep your heifers, retain them, breed them, and sell them through our bred heifer sale. And, Dad's not big on change. But, Mr. Kevin's got away with Dad, I guess you could say, because he really, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that, but he's really helped kind of evolve our operation, right? And so we finally, after years of trying, Dad decided let's give it a try. And so now we really focus on replacement heifers and selling those through the bred heifer sale. Now we still market our steers through CPH sale, but it's kind of evolved a little bit from just selling feeder calves into replacements.
Cool. So how did you learn about Farm Bureau? Was this just a family tradition to be a part of, or how did you get involved with that?
So, I've always been around Farm Bureau. Dad was on the board when I was small. I wouldn't say we were just real active. He was, but I wouldn't say we as a family were. Obviously, I took notice at Farm Bureau in livestock judging and showing is that they typically were a sponsor of some sort of event, right? And then when they asked me to be on the board, I said yes, and to be honest, it took me a couple of years to really figure out what we were doing, what our purpose was, and I think that is a lot like agriculture. We're not telling our story, right? And so, but when I finally figured out what it is that Farm Bureau does, that kind of it sparked my interest more. The piece about advocating for agriculture is one thing, which agriculture has a lot of advocates out there, right, via commodity groups. But the other part of that is rural Kentuckians. How many advocate groups are out there for just a rural resident, right? And so that really kind of excited me. So I'd say around 2019-ish, I got more involved with our local Farm Bureau there. And the way Trigg County does it, and I know everybody does a little bit different, but we're on a rotation in terms of president, vice president, that type thing. And the idea was to get the younger generation involved and have them let them buy in more, right? And so we kind of volunteered to serve in that vice president's role in about 2019. And then Donovan Washer at the time was our president. And so I think 21, maybe 22 is when I rolled into the president's role. And I've just learned a lot about Farm Bureau, by just coming to, presidents, vice presidents, or the annual meeting and being able to visit with other people and seeing what they're doing for their county. And so Farm Bureau has been really good for me personally. They're at a local level. We just had our meeting last night, but we're looking at doing some things that other counties have done, but ours has not. So it's Farm Bureau has played a big role in my thought process, over the past 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat you say that about bringing the young generation in, and we talk about this all the time, and I was just listening to a podcast from 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to be repetitive, but I get to talk to so many farmers, and you get this from your job with Farm Credit. I talk to so many farmers, but not everyone gets to hear the cool conversations I have, and so this is a chance for us to invite them on the podcast and share them. But just last night, I was at a county cattlemen's meeting in my home county, and a guy has just gotten on the state cattlemen's board, and he said, I wish I'd have done this when I was younger. And I said, well, it's neat, though. You're a retired judge. You still farm really well. Like, you've got the time, and you're good. You speak for all of us. And he said, but I just feel like every minute me at my retirement age is at a meeting, I'm taking the spot for two of you that are your age. And I thought that was a huge statement for someone who seeks out the young farmer at the meeting and does all these things. I mean, not everyone does that. And so I think it's a huge kudos to your county. And there's quite a few counties like that truly do say, okay, we've got a term, or okay, we've got to make sure there's not just one token young farmer, and get them in actual interactive roles. So I think that's a big kudos to y'all's county, because it's funny. Counties that do something like that maybe won't do something else, and they say, oh, yeah, we're behind on this other section. I'm like, yeah, but you're doing this part really cool.
Sure.
So that is a big shout out. We've seen Donovan Washer at a lot of things, and it's been neat for me to see both of you and get to know both of you even more, to have two young farmers in the same county being as active as you both are. You're in the lead class now, correct? So,
I am, yep.
So you're both going to be seen at these things, and it's not just one token spot. I think that's a really cool move for you guys.
Yeah, and when you look at Trigg County's board, and really we've got a lot of board members for the size of our county, and we recognize that. We probably have too many, honestly. But when you start looking at, we've probably got 2 to 3 to 4 people in each age group, if you will. If you're grouping them by tens, we've got 2 to 3 to 4 people in each age group, and to have that diversity is something that we look at as a strength to the future. So that's something we do take pride in, and we are consciously trying to continue.
Something you said about Farm Bureau's work with rural communities.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a city kid, when I grew up, and I joined Farm Bureau as just a video guy,
Yeah.
That was the thing that stuck out the most to me, and it's something that I really push on a lot in our communications is that understanding. Like, I think there's a lot of emphasis on making sure big cities work, and that should happen 100% because they're huge economic things. But every state's economic livelihood is really based on those rural communities actually thriving, and Farm Bureau does a lot of that work. And so I think that's the neatest thing that I see is, we worry a lot about those urban communities, and certainly should, but like if these rural communities don't work, none of this works, right?
Right. No, that's you hit the nail on the head, and I think the big push. I mean, just small stuff, right? Like just rural internet. Making sure that is available to all residents. I know that was a big push by the governor's office, I think, and one that Farm Bureau has gotten on board with and trying to help. I mean, just that's small. But at the same time, it's something that's needed, and especially needed for the future viability of those communities.
Mm-hmm.
And rural internet's a good example of what some organizations would say, okay, we got it passed, check the box. Because we have county farm bureaus in every county in the state. We get the feedback of, that's great, it passed, but it's not here yet.
Sure.
So it's that follow-up piece. I tell Kyle all the time, that's got to be the hardest part of his job is it's not the ag stuff. He can call any of us about the ag stuff. I can tell you where the cattle markets are. I can tell you what trends are happening, and I've got connections across this country that I'm blessed with that I can find those answers for him very quick. It's eminent domain. It's rural electric. It's getting internet to those areas after we've passed a bill. It's kind of holding people accountable, and then him answering those kind of questions. I think that's the powerful part when you talk about rural Kentuckians. I'm very aware of how internet is not everywhere in your neck of the woods, just where my parents are at. And so that follow-up piece, I think, is important, and the county boards are the only reason we know to do it.
Sure. Yep. No, that's right. And really, I don't think, this goes back to the storytelling piece, but we at a county level and probably a state level too, we don't do a good enough job explaining what the Farm Bureau, our side of the aisle, the Federation side does. Because when people think about Farm Bureau, they think about the insurance, and they should. But at the same time, I don't think we don't tell the story enough, and people don't understand how big of a resource your local county farm bureaus can be if used the right way. And so I think that's something we've got to do a better job of, is getting that information out there to our members.
Right. So you get to represent your county. When you joined and eventually became president, did you really have any idea what that meant? And what has been some surprises as a county president that you had to do?
Not really. I didn't really know what it consisted of. I just felt like at the time I watched all these people step up and lead, right, and understood that if I wanted to have any type of opinion of our future, I needed to put myself in those leadership roles and walk in those same shoes, right? So I didn't really have any idea what I was getting into, and I think our county is one of those counties that we are trying to evolve into a resource for people. So when you look at some of the other counties, they've done that, and they are a resource for people. And so in terms of people calling us and needing us and wanting us, we're probably not there yet, to be honest with you. And so in terms of the demand from our members, I've not really experienced that, or as a board member. But if we start doing it the right way, hopefully that will be the case. That's a pressure that we welcome, I think.
So I'm going to step back a little bit away from the county president part. It connects, but you're in Farm Credit. You're with the farmers. You work with the public. But your parents are both very outward-facing jobs in the ag community. And so I always tell people, I feel like my parents being so heavy in extension is why I am the way I am. I'm not a big let's plan for the legislative piece. Thank God we have Kyle and Erica, because I want stuff now for the farmers. Sure. Because I grew up in an extension world where they have a question, they walk in, we give them an answer. So talk to us maybe about what your mom and dad both do, and kind of they're different, but they're very same in the sense that people walk in and they give them answers. That's probably shaped how you look at boards and look at working in communities.
It is. And it kind of matches their personalities too, right?
Very.
But dad's an extension, has been for 20 plus years now. And before that, his dad was an extension. And so he kind of grew up in that footprint. And, dad served in Trigg County, McLean County, now back in Trigg County. And, dad does a really good job at trying to be innovative and living what he preaches to his farmers. And so, he's definitely a resource to a lot of those people. And then mom, she works for NRCS there in Christian County. And, I didn't really realize growing up, NRCS is one of those things that you don't really know about. It's like a secret, really. You don't know to go and work with those folks unless somebody tells you, hey, you need to go over there and see NRCS. Well, they're very much customer facing, and they've got a lot of programs for farmers to enroll in. And they're a great resource as well for farming practices and just when you look at conservation, I mean, they're a non-biased organization that you have access to for free, basically. And so, the fact that you're able to come in there and ask questions and get answers fairly quickly, I like the way that process works. And again, it fits both of my parents' personalities. We got questions, we want to answer the questions right then, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and really that's kind of how, when I'm on these boards, like we like to cut through the BS, right? Like, let's get after it. Let's figure out a way to do it. Now, I have figured out that that's not how the world works. So you do have to be patient and go through the right, you have to go about the right way in certain steps. But at the same time, I do think that we're able to kind of put some of the nonsense aside and just get straight to the actual process to get some stuff done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So American Farm Bureau, we talked about this before we hit record. Zippy Duvall made the year of the county president and spoke a lot about that. And you just really wanted to hit home the idea that how important that role is. And that's kind of why I asked, did you really know what you're getting yourself into? In your opinion, how important is that role, especially to a rural community?
Sure. So actually, all this is kind of come about in our county because of the annual meeting and what Zippy Duval said. He said, "Are you a resource to your community? What is your purpose?" More or less, he challenged us with, "What is your purpose?" Or at least that's the way what I took back from it. And so I was unable to be at our January meeting because we had a lead meeting. But our vice president, she and I were thinking, Becky Marlowe, we were thinking the same way, and she basically challenged our board with, are we on the board to be on the board, or are we being a resource to people? And so that's kind of sparked or kind of re-energized us a little bit to reevaluate how we're operating. And over the past 2 or 3 months, you ask the question, how important is that role? I mean, it's kind of the head of the spear, right? And so, being the Farm Bureau, the county president, it kind of falls on your shoulders to make sure we're heading in the right direction, make sure we're building the right relationships with the right people. And, it's really a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does a great job. Zippy's, we laugh. He's been at our annual meeting how many years in a row now, Matt? And
the whole
every year he's been the president.
Right,
and I'll have people randomly in the back of the room text me. Well, they text me because I have to sit at that gosh darn head table. I'm really trying to replace that seat. But anyway, so I'll get those texts. Then I'll get people
stare at Renee next year at the annual meeting.
Please watch me eat every morsel. That's my favorite. But I'll get texts from the back of the room and go, "Really, Zippy again?" And I say, "Text me after and tell me if you still don't like it."
Yeah.
And after every single year, somebody's like, "I think he told the same story at one part, but the whole other piece totally got a different vibe this year." Yeah. I'm like, he's just a very impactful speaker, but you almost feel like you're talking to your granddad. I mean, I'm serious. He's just got a way with words. And so some people I know up in this office have probably heard, "You're the county president" 100 times.
Yeah.
But I really think the more times we say it and the different people that say it and hearing it out of Zippy's mouth makes a big difference, because people like you, this is literally the story he wants to hear, is it impacted someone and he didn't tell you how to do it. He just told you to go home and do it, and that's important.
Yep. No, you nailed it. Every year he speaks, you feel like he told the same story, but he really didn't. And he's a down to earth speaker, and he can touch like the rural person, Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't know how the rest of the counties felt, but I mean, when we left there, as soon as we left, after he got done speaking, we had a little downtime. About 4 or 5 of us from Trigg County were talking, and I mean it hit all of us, is his challenge more or less of what are you doing, it resonated with us. And so, like I said, it's kind of re-energized the direction that we're wanting to go, or what we're wanting to do, or how we're wanting to be perceived in the community.
Yeah. You said that the county president is like the tip of the spear.
Sure.
I want to talk about the spear. I want to talk about your county. What is something kind of neat? Have you guys done something in the last couple of years that you think is really above and beyond? Something that's kind of just unique that maybe some other counties would be interested in?
We haven't.
Yep.
But I mean, it's not like we've not been active.
Yeah.
But have we gone above and beyond? Probably not. I mean, we've gotten involved, with the school and tried to help 4-H with safety days, stuff like that. But have we done anything just as exciting? Not in my opinion, no. But last night we talked about a few things that we want to do. And I'll be glad to share those. One of them is the Annie's Project. Becky Marlowe, my vice president, she also works at Farm Credit, and she was involved with the Logan County and Warren County presentation of that. And she said they had about 25 or 30 ladies that signed up to be in the class, I guess you will. And so that's something that we're looking at doing in Trigg County, maybe partnering with Christian County. We've not talked to them yet, but we plan on talking with them about maybe doing something for Trigg and Christian County there. And then another part, Deanna Litchfield, she's been on the board for about 2 years now. She was a former teacher, and now she also works at Farm Credit.
We're kind of stacking that board.
We're stacking them, that's right. But Deanna came to me yesterday, and she said, "Hey, I've had some thoughts, pretty well all the counties have like a youth leadership program. And a lot like anything else, once you have something going on for so long, it can kind of get stagnant, right?" Well, she said, what if we did an ag leadership program for Trigg County, or an ambassador program? And we run it kind of like the LEAD program or kind of like Kentucky Ag Leadership, where the first meeting or so that we have is, kind of that personality training, understanding who you are, how you operate and work with other people. And then from there, we do maybe quarterly or whatever the school allows, farm visits, and not field trips, but farm visits, right, where we actually have discussions with farmers and what they go through daily. And so that was something that the board was kind of excited about, and we plan on kind of figuring out the logistics of that and then getting with our superintendent there and seeing how we can implement that in the school. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, Annie's project, talk about what is this exactly?
So I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know the official background, but it is specific to, and Farm Bureau women are a lot like this too.
Right.
We're not the homemakers, and we've never have been. The farmer's wife has always been a partner, but there was just an old school style where that partner was quieter and at the house, but she was an integral part. Annie's project is really about empowering that woman to sit in those farmer education meetings as like that side-by-side partner, but you're with all women. Yeah. So the idea of maybe being at your county extension meeting and being nervous to ask about a financial piece because all the farmers in the room already know what that is, and this is the first time your kids are finally grown and you can be at the meeting, you take that piece out because it's all women in there. Right. They allow I think they allow kids to be kind of in the room. It's a little bit kind of a mix between our women's and young farmers in the sense that there can be a ruckus in the back of the room while they're carpet farming, but we can also ask questions openly and remember that we're farmers too. Does that kind of summarize it?
I think it's just an education piece for them around the financials of the operation, the bookkeeping piece of it. And, I think Kentucky Farm Analysis is involved, extensions involved. And so just giving the women an avenue to educate themselves and like Renee said, put them in a comfortable environment with others who are going through the same thing, and just trying to add some value, if you will, to the operation and what they do. Not that they're not valuable. I don't mean that, because they definitely are, but to give them something else other than
some added value.
Right, added value. So, Becky kind of brought that to us, and that's something that we definitely want to. We want to partner with somebody, or we want to be involved. Trigg County Farm Bureau wants to be involved with that somehow, whatever that looks like.
I think that's great. I mean, the other one, it's all leadership based. I mean, you're trying to empower people in that project, and obviously in the other. So that's a great thing.
So I pulled you in, of course, for the county president part, but I love talking about the farm. So I want to go back to some of it. Mostly because I think we're going into Ag Literacy Month or a week in the next month. And so a lot of push for the farm field trips. And I like how you said a farm visit, not just a field trip. So you've been raised on a farm by a grandfather and a father who have been extension background. So talk about kind of the community aspect of running trials on your own farm, having people out. I mean, you don't know any different, correct? Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of how you've been raised. So talk about some of the things you've seen growing up. Maybe the ones that worked and the ones that didn't work, and kind of the chance of seeing your dad and your granddad right there with the public. Yeah.
So, 2 years ago, I guess, Granddad was inducted in the Cattlemen's Hall of Fame. Well, I was going back and watching the interview, and Dad said something about Granddad. More or less, he said, that the one thing Dad taught me about innovation was, you can't recommend it to somebody unless you tried it yourself. And so over the years, I've watched them implement, whether it be something small or something large on our farm, to see if it worked or could work. And like I said, there's been a few things that they've done that probably didn't work. But there's been a lot of things that we've implemented that have worked and helped us evolve our operation and make our operation more efficient and overall more profitable. And so I've not really known any different, and we've had different groups come out and visit the farm, and it's been eye-opening for me, because a lot of times we want to keep the farm a private place, right? We don't want people on our farms, one, telling us what to do, or two, stealing our practices. Well, And to a point, I can understand some of that, but especially in beef cattle production in our neck of the woods, I'm not competing with anybody. We're not competing with anybody, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can share a little bit of what we do, and you can take that back and implement a piece of it on your operation, and it makes you more efficient, you more profitable, well, great, you know.
That person becomes a resource then when they have a thing that they're doing, right?
That's right. And not everything that we do works for the next person, but we can take pieces of what we learn and implement it in our own world and make it work for us, you know, because we're not set up like everybody else, and they're not set up like us. You know, prior to about 2 weeks ago, you know, there was three of us plus my kid, my granddad, dad, me, and then of course my kids. And so we had a lot of, we had a lot of labor, I guess you could say. You know, we could get some things done at different times where it may just be one person, you know. So, like I said, not everything that works for this operation is going to work for that one, but there could be some small things that you can implement to help.
So we talk farmland transition, and I do this with any young farmer, Gin Bridge age, anything. You guys have a unique story in how you have farmed with your family, and then you've also got your own operation too. Talk through, you've got kids at home and they seem ate up with it. Kind of talk through maybe some of the conversations you had that gave you the courage to go to the next one or those pieces. I think it's a really neat story you have.
Yeah. So granddad, dad is pretty well the only, there's three siblings, and dad's pretty well the only one that stayed on the farm. And granddad had some estate planning done, and after college, I graduated, started working farm credit, came back to live on the farm there in the house I grew up in, actually. And, you know, I was spending some time on the farm, and the more I got thinking about it, I was like, well, where is this going? You know, what is after granddad passes, what happens? And he had, like I said, he had a trust set up. Well, I got to reading through the trust, and more or less, it was not conducive to the people that were living on the farm and working on the farm. And so I went to him, and really it was an uncomfortable conversation. But he more or less said that, well, I'm not changing it, you know. And so at that point, I told my wife, I said, well, I feel like we need to probably find our own place. Not that I didn't still want to be involved, but if things shook down and broke down, I wanted something where we could have our own little operation, right? And so, fortunately, we found a place in Trigg County, but it's about 8 to 10 minutes away from the home farm, so not very far away. And so we bought that and moved there in 2016, I guess, and still ran it in conjunction with the home farm. You know, same farming practices, and really we ran it as one operation. And then I would say 21-ish, Granddad and I had another conversation. Well, actually, I tried to get Dad to talk to him, and I think Granddad just kind of shut him down more or less. And so Granddad and I had another conversation, another one that was uncomfortable about, you know, what is equal is not fair and what's fair is not equal about farmland transition or just transitions in general of operations. And finally, I think he understood where we were coming from, and so he changed how he wanted things to transition and what he wanted, and we were able to kind of to secure the future, if you will, for the next generation by that conversation, and from there, you know, we've just well, that's all been very recent, you know, and so. So we're trying to figure out the next step, but you mentioned my kids, and so my wife, she did not grow up on a farm, so that was a bit of an adjustment for her coming to a farm and understanding that, you know, that sometimes things just have to be done. Doesn't matter what we've got going on, if the weather's nice or whatever it might be, that's what takes priority, and so she has evolved. I won't say evolved, but she has adapted and started to understand that. And she actually kind of took on her own farming operation, if you will. Prior to COVID, she decided she wanted a little garden. So that was fine. We put one together. And as the kids got older, that garden has gotten bigger, and now we've got a few cut flowers, nothing big. The garden might be a quarter of an acre maybe, but we produce enough for us to eat on during the summer and whatnot. But she and the kids, whatever they harvest additionally, they have pop-up stands throughout the summer. And whether it be in Benton or Katie's or wherever it is, the money they make from that, they buy back-to-school supplies for folks that may need help, in August. And so that was her baby. She did that, and the kids, they fall right in there and help her, and they surprisingly enjoy it. Well, like a lot of folks, she decided she wanted some chickens. So we got some chickens now too, and that's kind of that's her baby. And so we've got 25 or 30 chickens, and she sells eggs, and I don't think that's quite become profitable. I mean, I'm not great with numbers, but I can figure it out. So I don't think we've quite paid for the chickens or the chicken pen and all that stuff with egg sales. But really, that's just an avenue for us to teach the kids about responsibility, and it's a good way for her to get involved in agriculture. And really, she's taken that to the classroom. I mean, she's our in at the school in terms of Ag Literacy Week, and she kind of heads that up for us. And I think she kind of picks a project every year for the kids to do, and each time it's ag related. Like one year is about honeybees and honey production. One year they hatched chickens in the classroom. I mean, so she is really just taking the ag deal and ran with it. And again, she didn't grow up on a farm. But she is really taken to it and become a partner in what we're doing.
Excellent. That's great. That's great.
Sometimes I think that's the better perspective to teach it. I think we don't know. I find that on this podcast. I don't know what someone that, and you are educated for a city person, as you call yourself in quotations. He's been doing this for years. I mean, interviewing farmers, there's so much of this jargon that you do understand. I don't realize we're using jargon sometimes until someone non-farm tells me. And I think Abby is the perfect person to be like, yeah, that's not the word we're going to use, because nobody has a clue what that means. Like, let's rephrase.
No, that's right. And it's funny because her granddad was a county extension agent in Marshall County. Well, my granddad was a county extension agent in Trigg County. So they knew each other. She and I didn't know each other. And so she's got some ag in her blood, if you will, but it kind of skipped, her parents' generation. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny now when we visit with her grandparents, she and her granddad, they get to talking about flowers and garden and whatnot. I'm like, who are you? You're not the same person. I mean, I'm excited, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, you are not the same person that I married, which is okay too, because I'm not the same person she married, right? but it's been fun to watch her evolve and really become an advocate for agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Now, this might be a big question, and this can just be from a county's perspective or so, but as a county president, as someone that's been very involved, where do you see Farm Bureau going? And it is. I've always appreciated in my years of nearly 20. I'm working on it.
Jeez, you're so old.
How things are the same, but things are different.
Right.
And Farm Bureau's really good at that, to do the same things, but to do it different.
Sure.
Where do you see, like, the county level? Like, what does that look like?
So we've had this conversation in our meetings, and the main thing is you look at where Farm Bureau's come from, looking where it is today. And really, let's look at the members. It's gone from a lot of full-time farmers to part-time farmers. And, that's good or bad, that's where this is going or headed, in my opinion. And so Farm Bureau has to evolve with that. And so do the folks that were used to the old, right, the full-time farmers. They've got to figure out a way to evolve with that, because I think sometimes that gives us, that's kind of a hurdle or an obstacle for us to progress. Now, I think it's important for the new or for the part-time farmer to understand where we've come from and respect that. But at the same time, I think just from a, economic standpoint, farms are getting bigger. There's less number of actual farmers, full-time farmers. And so you're going to have part-time farmers. And so I think that in itself is something we've got to focus on and recognize.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough. I'm looking at my watch, and we've been talking for a long time. I'm nowhere shocked, but that I love getting people from home. I love getting farmers here to talk about their story.
Yeah.
I've gotten to see multiple generations of yours. It's been a tough month for you guys personally, so I can't thank you enough. I'll say it and not make you, but your granddad, Mr. John, was just an absolute inspiration. Really cool that he got to see his own tribute for a hot second those 2 years ago when he was inducted into the Cattlemen's Hall of Fame, and the stories that have been shared, just the moments, it's been incredible. So you've got quite a cool legacy to follow, and I think it's incredible with the namesake and everything. It's just very, very neat. And your boys are getting to follow right along. I see him in them, so I think it's just incredible. But with that, I won't make you go into that. It's been tough. But I do want to give you one chance for a quick little shout out. People that have their own business at home, I think people are going to really get into what the kids are doing on the produce side. I know there's a Facebook page for that. And then maybe where you guys sell your heifers. If you want to do a pub for that, we can put both of those and people can be on the lookout in the future if they want to do either.
Sure. Yeah. So we do have a produce, or she has a produce page. Circle F Produce, I think, is what it is. And like I said, usually we're in Katie's or Benton. And like I said, that's usually in the summer, and there's no set dates. It's really just whenever she decides that she has enough energy to deal with the kids and getting all that together. And so we do sell eggs. Well, pretty much those are for sale every day. But
if you like it or not, right?
If you like it or not, that's right. That's
Trying to pay off that coop, so come on out.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, our heifers, we do sell those at the University of Kentucky Bred Heifer Sale in Guthrie. Typically in the fall, they've got 2 sales: one in the spring, one in May, one in November. And if you're looking for quality heifers, that's where to be. And I'm not just talking about ours, because I feel like ours are of quality. But University of Kentucky, they've done a phenomenal job of vetting those heifers and putting requirements in place for these heifers to go through. And at the end of the day, what I like about it is if you take that heifer home and you have problems, the producer is willing to work with you and to make things right. It's just not a one and done deal. And so, that they've had that sale for 25 years now, I think. Mm-hmm. And so obviously the formula is successful. So if you're in West Kentucky, like I said, in May or November, looking for heifers, come see us.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we'll wrap this thing up. Thank you, John David, and thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe to our larger podcast, Kentucky Farm Life, and we'll see you next time on Between the Rows.